Chapter -2.2, The Best Day and the Best Night. This one's written by Sky in red ink because it's the colour of my hair. This is Sky here. We decided that I had to write this chapter. The day we went surfing on Tiger Snake was so good. I'd forgotten how to feel anything except emptiness since Dad had died. Even the threats made by Isla and the Overlord seemed like nothing. We'd found some friends and I suddenly felt so much better. When we went up to Sky's room, I flared out my wings and made them visible to everyone. Six and Jem emerged out of thin air and stared at me, their eyes wide. "Can we?" asked Six. "Oh, yes, please," added Jem. "We can," I said. "Even though the thieves tried to ruin it, this is the best day we've had since as long as I can remember, and I think we need to celebrate." "It's going to be the best night too," said Six. As she spoke, Six headed straight out the window, followed by Jem. I stood on the ledge for a few moments, watching my tiny selves soaring over the water. Before I could talk myself out of it, I flew upwards, directly towards the moon. On the way, I did some backflips in the air, and it felt so good. Jem and Six interlaced with my backward circles, and it was as if we were all drawing pictures across the night sky. Far below me, the water was rippling under the watch of the stars. Its shimmering surface reminded me of the skin of a gigantic dragon, dreaming of her silvery treasure in a faraway land. Above us was the Milky Way and some billowy clouds. I flew up really high, wondering if I could reach them. But when the little ones followed me, I suddenly turned and dived straight down towards the sea, pulling up only metres before the surface. Six and Jem followed. "This is the best," shouted Six. "The betterest best," added Jem. "You're both the best," I called to them. Jem and Six did Peter Pan stances mid-air, legs apart and arms up in a show of victory. "Back now, before anyone sees us," I said, flipping myself over and drawing my wings quickly up and down to speed towards the church's tower. "No," called Six and Jem, flying fast behind me. "Yes," I shouted. As we neared the tower, we all joined hands before shooting straight towards Minnow's window. At the last minute, we broke off, entering the room one by one. Our faces were red, our eyes were bright, and I felt a massive surge of happiness. Looking at Ben, I said, "I think things are going to get better." He gave me a hug and said, "Me too." Chapter -2, Breakfast with Blizzard, by Minnow, now written in indigo ink. The next morning we raced downstairs to find Dad out on the deck, his barbecue spitting and popping with tomatoes, eggs and hash browns. The table under the grapevines was covered with bowls of fruit and baskets of bread. There were also scones with lots of different jams and cream that was almost the colour of honey. Glasses of fresh juice, fresh coffee and a big pot of tea. When there was a loud knock on the secret garden's gate, Sky looked terrified, but it was only Blizzard, his black curly hair quite wild and messy. "Come in," said Dad. Blizzard grinned. "What a hideaway." "No unwelcome visitors," said Dad. Blizzard laughed. "Then I'm glad I'm one of the welcome ones," he said, jumping onto the deck. "I'm Edie," said Mum, her blue eyes shining. "Tuck in." She loved entertaining. "We invited Decker," she added, "but he couldn't come." "Typical," said Blizzard. "Not the most sociable of people." "Minnow says the thieves are trying to get rid of him," said Mum. "Well, I hope not," said Blizzard. "I wouldn't be here except for him." Mum nodded. "We heard. Part of the reason you were invited to breakfast." Blizzard grinned. "Glad my reference stood the test." Mum laughed. "The girls tell me you're planning excursions to Tiger Snake." "Why not?" asked Blizzard. "It's magic. Bit like this place." Mum's scones are the best, I said, piling cream on top of my favourite jam, blackberry. Blizzard settled in next to Sky. Wonderful, he said. So, will this be on every morning? I wish, said Mum. As often as we can, said Dad. Blizzard laughed. Honestly, just the once is more than I expected. Two birds zoomed across the table, chasing one another. They reminded me of Six and Jem, so I set up a little offering for the girls at my end of the table. In a moment, the scones were gone. I smiled to myself. How good to have invisible visitors with wings. Ethan says you might help Ben and Sky get out of the centre, said Mum. Happy to try, said Blizzard, his dark eyes looking kind. Really? Asked Ben. Of course, said Blizzard. They're staying here for the weekend, said Mum. Isle of Thieves not very happy about it. That's odd, said Blizzard. Surely it's good for kids at the centre to have friends away from the place. Any normal person would think so, said Mum. Isla says she's going to make us wards of the state, said Ben. What even is that? Asked Frank. It's when the government has to become someone's parent, said Dad. Gross, said Frank. I know, said Sky. I keep feeling as if none of this was supposed to happen. Not even this? Asked Frank, gesturing towards the table. Such an excellent breakfast. Sky laughed. No, I love this. It's just everything else. Of course, said Mum. No one would want that. Sky frowned. No, you don't get it. I feel like something's gone wrong. I mean, really gone wrong with reality. Everyone stared at Sky, not sure what to say. I feel as if our family has gone off course. All around us, birds were going wild, whistling and rummaging about, hoping for crumbs. Sky looked at Ben for support. You feel it too, don't you? Ben looked worried. It's like there's a plot against us, he said. Frank looked confused. By spies or something? Ben shrugged. More like our destiny has gone haywire, he said. A little voice piped up. And we're here too. Shh, said Sky. What? Asked Mum. We're here, said the voice again. 6, said Sky. Are you all right? Asked Mum. This is why Isla won't let us go, said Ben. Why? Asked Dad. Because she thinks Sky has brain damage, said Ben. But she doesn't. Please, don't, said Sky. We have to, said Ben. A huge tear rolled down Sky's face.